let's not bury the lead here, because the absolute biggest bombshell of the episode just dropped, and it changes everything. We all saw the steamy elevator makeout session between Dany and Bill during the tornado. But today, the ugly, undeniable truth came out. They didn't just kiss. They went all the way. Yes, you heard that right. Dany and Bill had sex while trapped in that elevator, and the sheer audacity of this betrayal is sending shockwaves through the fandom. We open with a scene that is almost painful to watch due to the sheer level of dramatic irony. Dany is at home, tenderly helping a severely injured Andre settle into his seat. Andre, bless his pure heart, is looking at Dany like she hung the moon and the stars. He is actively praising her, telling her how grateful he is that she is safe, and imagining how terrified she must have been all alone in that dark elevator. If he only knew. As Andre speaks, Dany is haunted by the vivid, flashing memory of Bill casually buttoning his shirt in the aftermath of their illicit hookup. The psychological weight of this moment is staggering. Dany burst into tears, ostensibly because she was so afraid of losing her husband, but we all know the truth. She is crying because she knows she just detonated a nuclear bomb in the middle of her own marriage, and the timer is ticking. She checks his bandages, feeds him painkillers, and listens as Andre emotionally confesses that she is his entire world. He tells her he never wants to experience the agonizing pain of losing the people he loves ever again. The guilt radiating off Dany is palpable. She is physically healing her husband while harboring a secret that will completely shatter his soul. It is a brilliant, tragic juxtaposition that proves just how messy Dany's unresolved trauma with Bill truly is. The moment Andre finally drifts off to sleep, the facade crumbles. Dany immediately calls Vanessa, begging her to come over because she is drowning in her own guilt. When Vanessa arrives, Dany drags her upstairs and drops the bomb. She and Bill had sex. Dany tries to justify it, stammering that it wasn't planned, that it only happened because they were trapped for so long, and that she cannot fathom how she could be so incredibly stupid. Vanessa, ever the pragmatist, immediately doubts the accidental nature of it all, but tries to comfort her friend by saying she is only human. But let's analyze this logically. Dany didn't just slip and fall into Bill's arms. This was a trauma-induced relapse with a toxic ex. Dany is terrified because she knows that the truth will absolutely destroy Andre, and she makes the controversial decision that he simply shouldn't know. Vanessa's advice? Make absolutely sure Bill is on the exact same page. But trusting Bill Hamilton with a secret is like trusting a shark to guard a blood bank. Speaking of the devil himself, let's shift our focus to the absolute circus that is Bill and Haley's marriage. Because a massive tree is currently blocking the entrance to their tornado-ravaged mansion, the couple is holed up in a luxury hotel room. And the level of hypocrisy in this single room is enough to make your head spin. Haley, completely oblivious to her husband's recent elevator escapades, is actually impressed that Bill managed to escape the disaster without a single speck of dust on him. Oh, Haley, if you only knew what he was actually doing to pass the time. She casually asks him what he did while he was trapped. And Bill, without missing a beat, lies through his teeth. After taking a slow, deliberate sip of wine, he looks his wife in the eye and insists that he spent the entire time thinking solely of her and his daughters. He vehemently denies even thinking about Dany. The sociopathic ease with which Bill lies is chilling, but it perfectly highlights his narcissistic nature. But wait, the irony gets even thicker. Haley, who is actively poisoning this man on a daily basis, starts casually researching the Abbott family online, specifically digging into their wealthy history. She brings up how Kyle Abbott kept her company during the storm. Suddenly, Bill's ego flares up. He starts questioning why she is so intensely interested in Kyle. He actually asks if he should be jealous, pointing out that Kyle is exactly Haley's type, filthy rich. This is classic psychological projection. Bill just cheated on his wife, so his immediate instinct is to accuse her of doing the exact same thing with the nearest billionaire. Haley simply laughs off his accusations, telling him that no other man could possibly touch her, and reassuring him that she knows he would never betray her either. They seal this terrifying web of mutual deception with a passionate kiss. It is a masterclass in toxic relationships. Both are playing a dangerous game, both are lying to each other's faces, and the inevitable explosion is going to be spectacular. Meanwhile, across town, Vanessa and Joey are dealing with their own brand of relationship turbulence. Vanessa is laying down the law at Joey's house, demanding that he stop playing the reckless hero. Yes, Joey saved Abby Newman Winters from a falling chandelier, and yes, it was a heroic act, but Vanessa is looking at the bigger picture. She tells him point blank that she cannot and will not survive losing another man in her life. Her trauma is speaking loud and clear here. She also brings up her children, noting that her daughter will simply have to learn to accept Joey as a permanent fixture in their lives, or else they will just have to navigate the passive-aggressive fallout. Vanessa is demanding stability, asking Joey to be a little less selfless and a lot more careful. Joey, smooth as ever, reassures her that she is in absolutely no danger of losing him. He tries to distract her by suggesting they spend the next few hours having sex, but Vanessa's maternal instincts kick in and she chooses to text her daughter instead. It's a small moment, but it shows where Vanessa's true priorities lie. But Joey's promises of safety are immediately put to the test when his sister, Heather, also known as the ruthless crime boss, the Impaler, drops by for a final visit. Heather is observing Joey's life, taking in the decorations, and making one last pitch. She informs him that she's heading back to London, leaving the door cracked open just in case he changes his mind about joining her international criminal partnership. Joey stands his ground, refusing to budge, but Heather is sharp. She spots a picture of Vanessa, noting the blonde must be incredibly special. Joey's demeanor instantly shifts from casual brother to fiercely protective partner. He explicitly warns Heather that Vanessa is completely off limits, demanding that his sister not become a stranger, but making it clear where the boundaries are drawn. Heather smirks, noting that his blonde friend is a very lucky woman, before finally making her exit. When Vanessa returns to the room, Joey solemnly admits that he may have just seen his sister for the very last time. But let's be real, in the soap world, a villain like the Impaler never truly disappears. She's just waiting in the wings. Now we must transition to the absolute life or death chaos unfolding at Garland Memorial Hospital. The aftermath of the stairwell incident has left Eva fighting for her life on a ventilator. The medical reality is grim. Eva's liver is severely damaged from internal bleeding, and she desperately needs a living donor transplant to survive. The tension in the hospital corridors is suffocating. Martin is changing clothes while Smitty handles the discharge papers, but the real emotional heavy lifting is happening in the waiting areas. Ted finds Kat sitting all alone, completely consumed by her own dark thoughts. Kat confesses that she sent Tomas to check on his foster brother, but her mind is entirely focused on the blood she saw coming from Eva's mouth. Here is where the psychology gets incredibly dark. Kat is trapped in a cycle of magical thinking. She actually believes that her intense hatred and negative thoughts toward Eva somehow manifested into this physical tragedy. She is terrified that she caused this. Ted, stepping up as a supportive father figure, firmly reassures her that she is absolutely not at fault. But the medical tests are rolling in, and the news is devastating. A doctor arrives to deliver the crushing blow. Ted is not a compatible match. Over in a quiet office, Leslie and Isaiah are holding hands, praying fervently for a miracle. Isaiah speaks beautifully about how his mother taught him to pray, leaning on his faith in this dark hour. Leslie is fiercely determined, declaring that her daughter is a warrior and absolutely convinced that she will be the one to save her. But fate is cruel. Isaiah rushes out to deliver the heartbreaking news to the family. Leslie is not a match either. Furthermore, Andre is immediately ruled out because of the heavy pain medication he is currently taking. Suddenly, the entire family's collective gaze slowly turns to Kat. By a process of elimination, she is their absolute last hope. And this is where Martin makes a colossal, unforgivable mistake. Instead of approaching his traumatized, terrified sister with empathy and understanding, Martin goes on the offensive. He aggressively pressures her, lashing out and calling her Princess Cat. He demands that she stop being selfish and just do the right thing. Make it make sense. Martin just woke up from a concussion, so perhaps his brain is scrambled. But bullying someone into organ donation is not only ethically abhorrent, it is the worst possible strategy to use on someone as defensive as Kat. Kat's reaction is entirely justified. She screams back that her fears are real, begging her brother to consider her feelings and her profound trauma for just 1 second in his life. She admits to Smitty that she still actively hates Eva, creating a horrifying moral dilemma. Can you imagine being asked to undergo major surgery, risking your own life to save someone you genuinely despise? It is a brilliant twist of fate that forces Kat to confront the deepest, darkest parts of her own humanity. Feeling cornered, attacked, and treated like nothing more than a spare parts facility for the family, Kat storms off in a fit of absolute rage and tears. You cannot force altruism, and Martin's aggressive guilt trip may have just pushed Kat completely over the edge, potentially sealing Eva's fate in the process. The episode brings all of this emotional devastation full circle in its final moments. Back at the Dupree household, Andre's noble heart gets the better of him. Despite his severe injuries, he attempts to stand up, desperately wanting to rush back to the hospital to support Isaiah and be there for Eva. But his body simply gives out. He collapses in excruciating pain. Dany, watching her husband fall to the floor, rushes to his side. She insists, through violent, racking sobs, that he must stay home and rest. As she holds him, she cries out, "I'm so sorry." It is a moment of pure, unadulterated heartbreak because the audience knows exactly what those tears mean. Andre thinks she is apologizing because he is in physical pain and she can't fix it. But we know the truth. Dany is apologizing for the ultimate betrayal. She is looking at a man who is willing to break his own body to help others, knowing that she just betrayed him in the most intimate way possible with a man who only cares about himself. The brilliance of this episode lies in its emotional symmetry. The physical tornado may have passed, but the emotional tornadoes these characters have unleashed are just beginning to tear their lives apart. Dany and Bill's secret is a ticking time bomb. Haley's poison and paranoia are reaching a boiling point. Joey is trying to build a safe life on a foundation of criminal secrets. And Kat holds the literal power of life and death in her hands, paralyzed by resentment and fear. The writing here is sharp, the stakes are incredibly high, and the psychological warfare is top-tier soap opera excellence. What do you guys think? Is Kat actually being selfish, or is Martin completely out of line for trying to bully her into a major organ donation? And how long do you really think Dany and Bill can keep their steamy elevator secret before the truth destroys Andre completely? Drop your thoughts, theories, and outrage in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update from Fairmont Crest.